Hey everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to be speaking with underwater storyteller and diver Mae Doricott. Mae has been diving all over the world with all manner of wildlife such as dolphins and octopus. She has also worked on incredible wildlife films such as David Attenborough's Ocean. We're going to be talking about how Mae became a diver in the first place, the difference between an open and closed circuit, how you would go to the loo in a dry suit 50 meters underwater, what it's like to swim with a pod of dolphins, and much more. Welcome back to the Explore the Road podcast. When did you actually first start diving? When was the first time you put on that gear and actually went into the water? Because for me, I'm 35 and I still have no intent of doing it at all. So,
None?
No. We'll get to that. When did you first start?
When I was 12.
How does a 12-year-old get to that? Is there not an age limit?
There was, 12. How did it begin? So, my mum's family's in Malaysia, and we would go and visit them, family holidays every other year. And my mum's brother was really into diving. Him and his wife would go around the Malaysian coast. And my dad was like, actually, that's kind of cool. I'm into that. Dad's always been a bit of an adventurous person, always likes to trial out different things. And he was like, yeah, I'm gonna try scuba diving. And I remember snorkeling above him whilst he did his first ever open water dive. And I was just like, I want a bit of that. So I just had to wait. I had to wait until I turned 12 and did the classroom sessions with a friend in Bolton, did the pool sessions in Bolton.
So not quite as tropical, but yeah.
Not quite as tropical, but then we saved the ocean dives for when we went back to Malaysia for that summer holiday. And yeah, I was just hooked. And it was, I was really lucky that Dad was into it. And by this point, he had become an instructor. And so we would just, on the weekends, go to the local quarry and start skilling up. And I just knew that it was something that I wanted to do. It felt like the only thing I was like really competent at.
I'm trying to think how many things I was competent at 12. Not many, but that is... So to do that then and go through that process, the only thing I know about starting diving is it PADI, open water is the first thing that you do. Mm-hmm. But there are many different levels to diving and to the qualifications you can get underwater. What are they and where have you got to in terms of those qualifications?
Yeah, so there's, I guess, the more recreational side of it. So there's different organisations, PADI, BZAC. I started off as PADI and then switched over to BZAC when I was 14 because that was the age limit with BZAC. That's what my dad was. Mm-hmm. So then I started going up that route. And then, you start off with open water, very basic dives, maybe max 16 meters. It's all kind of shallow. You'll always have to have a dive guide with you. And then you start to skill up. You learn how to look after your buddy if something goes wrong, you're a rescue diver, and then you become maybe a dive leader, so you can actually start leading groups. And that's like the first professional rung on the PADI ladder is to be a dive master. And so you're only taking groups out when you go on holiday, you pay for a ticket and you get a dive master. They'll take you on a nice tour. Then you've got your instructors, and that's in the leisure side of diving. Then there's the commercial side as well. And I decided to go to Plymouth University for the HSC commercial diver ticket, which is being a professional scuba diver working in media science diving. So you start wearing a full face mask so you can communicate with the surface. They can tell you what to do. And yeah, you're starting to actually work underwater. You're not just there as like an observer anymore.
And how long is that time period then to this point you've been diving for?
So up until 18.
Okay.
So at 18 I went to Mexico.
Yeah.
Took a gap year.
Yeah.
Went to Mexico.
Yeah.
And did my dive master because I was really exploring how could I make diving part of my livelihood. Mm-hmm. Right. And I knew I wanted to go to university, but by that point during my time, the prices had just hiked up, and I was
Right.
like, do I really want to go get student debt, or is there another way to do what I want to do?
Yeah.
So I did the dive master training, and I was in Mexico, living on a beach, having the best time of my life. And I was just surrounded by a lot of different ages, people from all around the world. And I was just like, yeah, no, I do want to go to university. I do want to pursue marine biology. And then I went to Plymouth, studied marine biology, and I went to Plymouth purposely because as part of the university, they had a diving course. And I was like, okay, go and do my commercial ticket, and then I could be a scientific diver. And so between first and second year, did a summer course, and then second year we had a diving module, which was so jammy. It was like when people were going to lectures, I was like, yeah, I'm off to my lectures into the sea. So by 2021, I had my commercial diver ticket.
Then did you use that qualification to get you into wildlife filmmaking?
Yeah, so I knew that if I was to do any kind of diving work in the UK, I would need that ticket,
Right.
including film and media. Including film and media. But then I won a diving scholarship after university.
How does one win a diving scholarship?
There was a scholarship called the Our World Underwater Scholarship Society's Rolex Scholarship, and it offered 3 people a year's grant and induction into this network. And essentially, you could do whatever you wanted within your academic interests as long as it involved scuba diving. So you could be into archaeology, you could be into medicine, you could be into polar regions, ice diving, well, that's polar regions, anything, cave diving. And my interest was marine biology and science communication. And at this point, I had just moved to Bristol. I was starting my master's in science communication, and I was just starting to get like itchy feet. And this scholarship came up on my emails. I was like, oh God, yeah, I'm going to apply for that. I applied for it, and the minimum requirements was to be a rescue diver, I think it was like 23 minimum age, 21, and have like 60 dives, and just have an interest in diving. And I won it. And within that, I was able to create like a bespoke, tailored year and gain more diving qualifications, new skills, and start to meet with a myriad of ocean experts. And just, it was like the best internship in the world, really.
Yeah, sounds awesome.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And so from that, I learned how to use a rebreather, because that was one of my next things. I was like, okay, I've been diving for a while now. The next level up is to use a rebreather.
And for the people out there that have no idea what a rebreather diver is, what exactly is a rebreather, and how is it different to the normal diving?
Okay, so normal diving, you have a cylinder of compressed gas, and that could be a mix of 21% oxygen up until like 32%, and we call that a nitrox mix. So that enables you to stay down a little bit longer. You get less nitrogen build up in your body, reduces the effects of potentially getting the bends. You know what the bends is like when you come up and too fast and you get like itchy bones and a squeeze.
It's incredibly bad for you.
It's very, very bad for you. You don't want that. Yeah. So that's normal scuba. We call that open circuit. You breathe in, you breathe out, bubbles come out.
Okay.
And you go down that bottle like a glass of water. Mm-hmm. But with a rebreather, you have 2 smaller cylinders. Yeah. They're much smaller than what you'd get on an open circuit cylinder. Open circuit, maybe 12 litres, 15 litres of gas. A rebreather, you have 2 cylinders. One of them at 2 litres, 3 litres is, say, normal air mix. We call that the diluent. Mm-hmm. Then you have 100% oxygen in the other. Okay. Then in the middle of this system, we have something called softer lime, which essentially is a carbon dioxide absorbent. And as you breathe out, instead of it coming out in bubbles, it goes into this system. That gas gets scrubbed through the scrubber. The carbon dioxide is removed. And as it comes out of this system, there's loads of electronics and analyzers, and it detects how much O2 is then in that gas, and then it will eject just the perfect amount of O2 for the depth that you're at, and so then you breathe that back in again. So it's a closed system compared to an open system, breathing in, breathing out bubbles. Closed system, no bubbles. The air is recycled, and it's always giving you the perfect mix for whatever depth that you're at. So not only does it have no bubbles, but it extends the bottom time that you have underwater.
So that's why you would do it. And I mean, I have this question later, but it's perfect to ask it now. I mean, how long do you stay underwater? I mean, I don't know what the normal dive times are.
Yeah, so let's say on a normal open circuit 12-litre cylinder, depending on how heavily you breathe, maybe an hour.
Okay.
And your depth that you're at. On a rebreather, your restrictions are how fast you metabolize the O2 and how long that scrubber lasts. And so most systems, the scrubber will last you 6 hours.
So you've been under the water for a full 6 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, so if I'm in the bath for 20 minutes, I've got pruny fingers. You know, what on earth do you have to protect your skin being under the water for that long? What are the results of you on your skin?
Yeah, you do become a prune. Yeah, you do. Yeah.
But I mean, but your hands, is there not like a?
I mean, you could wear dry gloves,
Yeah.
but you know, if you're in the tropics, you're not really going to be wanting to wear gloves.
No.
You do come back from long underwater shoots, and you come back home, and your hands are just peeling.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
they do just end up getting really, really tired.
Do you have to be careful with what you do manually after you've come out the water after 6 hours?
Not really. I think some things are a little bit tricky to do, but eventually you just build calluses up and you become, yeah.
That is wild. What kind of what things have you for 6 hours? What have you done underwater? Because that system is obviously way more complicated. I'm imagining, well, as you said, it requires more experience. It's more expensive. I imagine there's a lot more that can go wrong with that. What kind of circumstances, have you experienced where that is like made a huge difference to what you can achieve underwater?
Oh, yeah, it is. It's probably the primary tool that most underwater cinematographers will use now. There are times when an open circuit system is just more efficient, but if you're doing any kind of behavior sequence and you just don't want to disturb the behavior,
Of course, with the bubbles.
They just come into a whole league of their own. I was lucky enough to go on a shoot for Ocean with David Attenborough, and
amazing film.
Yeah, we're all so proud of it, and like incredibly proud of the main team. Like I only played like a very small part with all of that, but my name's in the credits, so I'm gonna take it.
Hey, my favourite saying: "One team, one dream."
One team, one dream.
Come on, I mean, but I mean, I've got some questions about that film. Staggeringly good film. Good film. But do tell. You had one shoot.
Yeah, so I went to Indonesia, to Crete, Raja Ampat, and we were using rebreathers there, and we were just underwater for 6 hours a day, just picking off different behaviors. And you can move from one thing to the other quite easily. So, we've got the motion control rig set up on one thing, and then we can leave that running, pootle off, film when the big fish are coming in, when the tide turns. And you're just so much more efficient on it. And yeah, I think that was really cool. Just we were just staying in one spot. For as long as we could, and just hoovering up as much as we could.
Well, I mean, one of the things that we both get to do in wildlife filmmaking, and one of my favorite things about the job, is that we're given the luxury of time in a location. And for me, said this multiple times, I'm a terrestrial guy. It's just how I am. And in these spots that we go to, you're sitting and waiting for animals to appear most of the time, and you'll be sat there all day. And when you naturally, it just highlights when you walk into an area as a human, you disturb the balance. It's just, it's just the way it is. If you're passing through, it's kind of almost part of the disturbance. Animals are used to that. But when you're coming and sitting and setting up shop, it takes a while for things to settle around you. And when they eventually do, it's, one of my favorite moments of any shoot or any wildlife outdoor experience is when I feel like the rest of the wild has acclimatized to me joining that scene effectively. And I'd never really thought about it being underwater because I guess I didn't really realize you could stay underwater that long.
Yeah, and I think that is where the rebreathers do come into their own because you have no bubbles. That's like, yeah, reducing your impact on the environment. And for a project that hasn't come out yet, we went to the Californian kelp forests, and it was a benthic shoot. So everything that we were shooting was based on the reef. Fishes coming in, laying their nests. And again, it was, we'd find the subjects that we wanted to work with. We'd put the tripod down because we've got underwater tripods.
Which still blows my mind. I knew that anyway, but
they're heavy, man. Yeah, they're really heavy to move around underwater. Place them down and then just sit. And then obviously you can just kind of wait until they've settled back with you there. But then also the beauty of being underwater is you can be really close to them too, because they're underwater animals are just less used to us. But that also makes them like just a bit more bold.
Wow.
Yeah, and less shy once you've settled in anyway. Yeah.
Well, you've mentioned Malaysia. You've mentioned the kelp forests. It's so because I've never Divin. I've never. I can't dive, and for me, I've been at the surface snorkeling, and I've been lucky enough to see a couple reefs around the world, but I wouldn't really be able to tell you a difference between the two reefs that I've seen. But I imagine the difference is massive between Malaysia and a kelp forest. But is the variation underwater kind of the same as land? Because we've got mountains, jungles, Arctic, deserts. Is it the same underwater?
No. Yeah.
No, not at all.
No, it is different. You have different plants, you have different fish, you have different corals. Like the kelp forest in the UK, like I've dived a lot up in Scotland, which is actually one of my favourite places to dive.
Cool.
I think it's because it just feels like really rough and ready and it feels like a proper adventure. But the kelp forests there are very dense and you can't really actually like swim through the fronds of the kelp. You go to California and the kelp is gigantic. And it's more sparse and thin and you can actually float in between the fronds and you're actually in and amongst it like you're walking through a forest, whereas here it's like you kind of see the forest beside you either side, but there it's like you are in it. Same with coral reefs. From like Malaysia to Indonesia, it changes just because of like the ocean currents and what's like become like endemic there.
Currents are one of those things. I mean, it's obviously an incredibly physical thing to do, particularly if you're going to be under the water for 6 hours. You can't just take a nap. How do you cope with the physicality of something like that, being underwater like that for that amount of time?
Yeah, like when you're diving rebreather in cold water, you wear a dry suit and you wear a lot of layers underneath. So a dry suit, you stay completely dry underneath, and you can put like layers of thermals and even like a heated vest as well. I don't have a heated vest. I really want a heated vest.
I thought you were going to say I don't need one.
No, I really do. I get cold really easily. But in a dry suit, you can't wee. So you get a she-wee.
Oh.
And guys have like a pee valve as well. Yeah, you get a pee valve on your dry suit. So you have like, I don't know. I'm going to go into this.
Yeah, absolutely. This is fascinating.
Okay, so because you're underwater for so long, and as soon as I hit water, I need to pee.
Yeah.
I think it's just like
I think that's everybody. Isn't
everyone,
it?
yeah. So yeah, when you've suited up in your dry suit, you're like, okay, there's two options here. You either wear a nappy or you invest in a pee valve, and that is, yeah, it's quite an ordeal getting used to that. I say it's like you get like a special silicone like pad with a little like cup underneath, like a funnel, and then it has. you're like yeah.
I know what a shiwi is, you know, but
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out how that would work underwater.
Yeah, so you have to stick it to yourself
Okay.
with some special glue,
Amazing.
and then it has a pipe which then goes from the valve from your funnel
Yeah.
to the valve on your leg. And yeah, it takes a bit of practice as well to be in the right position for it to go in the right way.
And so it's a valve, so then you go,
open it.
You open it before you go.
Yeah.
Okay. I need to
Open it,
clarify that.
pee. It's a one-way valve.
Yeah.
And then close it back up again. And then the guys they don't have like a pad like I do. They would have like a kind of this like a kind of condom that you put on.
Okay.
Which then
My mind went to tube. No, absolutely not. I did not think that was going to be on the pod today.
Yeah.
But interesting. I'm guessing there's no snacking either.
No, you can't snack.
Oh.
Yeah, so there are some guys who do like really long dives.
What's the longest dive you can do?
Might have to
Or
fact check that.
You don't have to fact check. It can just be. I mean, this isn't. We're not. I
think some of the units, because there's different brands. I think some of the units will allow you to dive for like 9 hours. But and it's with the deep dive. So you know, our 6 hours that we're doing is all at one depth, really shallow. And yes,
what's shallow? What's a shallow dive?
Like 12 meters.
Okay.
And there are like again limitations of oxygen building up in your body, and you don't want to. There are still limitations of how long you can stay in a shallow dive, but with the deeper dives, there are guys in like Palau who go and film like Nautilus down off like 100 meters, and so they go down to 100 meters, but they're only there for like a couple of minutes before you have to then start coming up.
Wow.
And then you spend pretty much 5 hours in the shallower regions decompressing.
So, but does it take you 5 hours to get? No.
To get down, it's like
so you can just go down.
You just go down,
yeah.
And you want to get down as quick as you can.
Okay.
Because then you can stay for the maximum time you're allowed at that depth, and then start working your way up.
So you have a fixed amount of time to come back up.
Yeah, because you have to keep on hitting different ceilings you have to hit different depths and remain at that depth for an amount of time to allow your body to off gas, release all the nitrogen that you've built up at that pressure.
When you go down to that depth, I mean, I can't imagine the pressure on the body.
Incredible.
What's the deepest you've been?
I haven't been very deep. I've been to like 45 meters.
But even that, I was doing some reading prior to this, if you can believe it, and 50 meters is kind of like that dangerous point, isn't it? You can kind of go drunk underwater. Yeah,
but that can happen at like 25, 30 meters.
Oh, blimey.
It's actually quite a nice feeling, but yeah.
Depends what kind of drunk you are.
Yeah, but it is, so nitrogen narcosis is that.
Okay.
And that is essentially as you are breathing in the gas and going deeper, the deeper you go, the more nitrogen you're breathing in with each inhale because of the pressure.
Okay.
If you imagine it like, oh God, here we go. Trying to explain this. So you imagine like a balloon, and that's your lungs. And every time you go down 10 meters, you inhale from your compressed gas source, and that expands your lungs out again.
Okay.
And every time you go down, you add a little bit, and you add a little bit to make sure that your lungs are always at the right volume for our function. But as you come up, all that gas that you've put into that balloon needs to get out.
Right.
So that's like the compression. But every time you inhale with each of those breaths, the proportion of 21% to 79% oxygen to nitrogen also increases.
Okay.
So you're intaking more nitrogen as you go deeper. Nitrogen is narcotic. So as you're inhaling, you just start to get a little bit more like dizzy under the pressure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'm explaining this very well, but
No,
yeah.
no, no.
So you start to feel like a little bit like drunk, and I find I hit like 30, and you just hear like the bubbles start to like tinkle.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, here
Yeah.
it comes. And it's okay if you know what it is.
Yeah.
And you can still function and you can still operate well and you know when to come up.
Yeah.
But there are horror stories
Yeah.
of people becoming really narked
Mm-hmm.
and seeing a pretty fish and just following that pretty fish down into the depths and just going.
Oh gosh, because this is one of the things about diving which I find so scary. You're so reliant on that equipment and these effects. And yeah, I was going to ask, I was going to ask what are the dangers, but obviously this is one of the big ones. But even outside of this effect, you know, what
other things?
Yeah,
can
what
go
I mean,
wrong?
I imagine there's a multitude of other things that can go wrong.
So you've got all of the different kind of barotraumas that you can have on your lungs. So again, you're breathing compressed air.
Mm-hmm.
You could have a burst lung. That's just one of them. Yeah, if you come up too fast. With the rebreather, because it's electronically run and you're working with a high level, you're working with pure oxygen. There are a lot of dangers around that. Yeah. You can get too much oxygen, hyperoxia, too low oxygen, hypoxia. You can breathe in too much carbon dioxide if your filter system isn't working, which can be basically a load of different effects of making you feel drowsy. What are all the effects of hyperoxia?
I mean, we won't quiz you on all of this.
Okay. But basically, it can have a multitude of effects on your physiology, which can impede you. You can get convulsions underwater. You can black out. There are so many things that can go wrong. Yeah. Like your inflator hose might stick open and your BCD will just inflate and send you up to the surface. So, there's lots of things that can go wrong. Touch wood, I haven't experienced.
I was going to ask, have you ever had to deal with a malfunctioning bit of equipment? Never.
No.
Touch wood.
I think a part of that is like being really hot on drilling when things go wrong. Like, you do your first aid course every 2 years, so you know what to do. And I would tend to make sure that if I'm ever on a shoot, if I can before, make sure I'm shaking off, go for a dive, make sure everything's working, and practice those skills of when things do go wrong. Because that's what your courses are about. It's like, okay, if you have a burst hose, what are you going to do? And then what's the protocol from there? Okay, you're getting way too much oxygen into the system. This is reading really high. What do you do? And there's loads of protocols that have been established to help us in those situations. It's just hoping that when they do happen, you keep your cool.
Well, it's interesting. I read once that divers actually make really good astronauts. And when you're describing all of these things, I am kind of thinking, because you are effectively going into another world, your life is dependent on the system that you're using, and almost breaking down these complex issues into step-by-step tasks. To do that, does it, are there any things that you do with your mind, like triangular breathing, or are there any methods which they kind of teach you to focus your mind in a situation like that?
No, I think there's just something inherently calming about being underwater.
There must be something taking you there all the time.
Yeah. I know, like, some people feel like claustrophobic underwater, but I think if you're getting to the point of this more technical diving, you would feel quite competent underwater, and you're not talking as such. And I think just being in that physical space, there is just something quite meditative about it, generally. And I think because you're very conscious of your breathing, you're already going into that state of, okay, that's my inhale, that's my exhale. Even with open circuit, you can hear your inhale, you can hear your exhale, and it just naturally becomes meditative.
Wow. I mean, it's so interesting because it just seems incredibly dangerous, even everything that you've described. But even now, just ending on that, you know, even you talking about it, you can see there like actually there's a total mindset that you go into to go into that space, into that other world. I mean, talking about all the things that can go wrong is one thing, but you know, you filmed all over the world. Obviously, you have a lot of experiences underwater, but do you have a couple that really, really stand out to you in terms of maybe, I don't know, yeah, well, you tell me if they're instantly, when someone says, you know, what's a cool animal experience you've had underwater?
I'm trying to also think of ones that I can share with you.
Of course, the natural situation of NDAs and talking about stuff before it comes out.
Yeah. I'm just going to say it just because it's coming out and then maybe other things will come too. But the project that I'm currently working on, there was a pod of dolphins. And that was just so magical.
When you say a pod, I mean, how many are we talking
I'm
here?
talking about like 20.
Crikey.
And we were just following them. And they just kind of took us with them. And there was this one moment where I had like 6 dolphins on one side, 6 dolphins on the other, and I'm like eye to eye with these guys, and I'm like swimming along, and I'm just like, yeah, this is pretty cool. And they're like bigger than me, they're chunky as well. Like, obviously, I've watched a lot of dolphins on telly, but actually being underwater with them for that prolonged period of time and getting to like join them on like a mission as like where they were going, and like them also slow down to our pace as
I was
well.
going to say, how are you keeping up with dolphins?
Yeah, no, I'm really fast underwater. I might look small. No, that was really special.
What about the first time, you know, because you mentioned dolphins before.
Yeah.
I have stand-up paddleboarded in Florida on holiday, going out with my sister first thing in the morning at sunrise, and we were staying by the beach. And as we were, you know, trotting down the beach, we saw some dolphins, saw some bottlenose dolphins coming down the beach. So we ran out there, we put the stand-up paddleboards out, we paddled out, and they were coming down the beach, and they were about 100 meters away. We were about 50 meters out, 100 meters out, not super far. But then they died, they disappeared. And my sister and I were kind of just bobbing along in the waves looking, and they popped up right next to us. The size of a dolphin is unbelievably intimidating. And my sister instantly went, oh my God, I'm really scared about falling in now. And they're just huge.
They're huge.
People don't appreciate actually how big a dolphin is.
No, they don't. I didn't until I went on this shoot, and I was just like, oh my goodness, they're so hench, pure muscle. And you just feel so feeble next to them because they do like two strokes of their fin, of their tail, and they're off. And then you're like trying to catch them back up. But honestly, they're so special. I think like cetaceans generally. I mean, I haven't had that much experience underwater with cetaceans, but with the dolphins, you know, having those moments where you're like eye to eye with them and they really engage with you, you're like, wow, this is so special. Like, yeah, okay. You know what's what.
Do you get that with animals like sharks?
No, I wouldn't say so with sharks.
What sort of sharks? I mean, yeah, because again, I have snorkeled with a shark recently.
Yeah.
Black tips. I was the only one out of my group who opted to wear a life jacket.
Oh, well done.
Very cool. Very cool indeed. But we were swimming around black tip reef sharks, and I was absolutely stunned by how it wasn't super clear because there had been some rough weather, and I could not believe how 1 second it was not there, the next second it was right in front of me. And they weren't very big, you know, maybe 4 feet, big enough to scare me. Yeah, what feeling, you know, what sharks have you been in the water with?
Yeah, yeah, I love sharks. I've dived with great white sharks.
In a cage?
In a cage. Bull sharks, white tip reef sharks. I've never seen a hammerhead, unfortunately. But yeah, I did an internship during my scholarship with the Rodney Fox Shark Experience down in South Australia, and that's cage diving. And I think the shot in Jaws, where there's a cage and a little diver, that was with them.
Wow.
And you know, you've got the diving out in Guadalupe with the great whites too and the big blue, but this is, I believe, the only place where the cage drops down all the way to the bottom. So it's like 25 meters, and it's seagrass habitat, and it's around the Neptune Islands where you get fur seals, which the sharks have.
That's what they're going for. Okay.
That's what they're going for. So I spent 4 weeks on that boat, just becoming like a cage guide as tourists came, and then we had a week with a scientist, Charlie Hoover-Neers, who was testing out different shark repellents for the sharks.
Wow. What kind? What, like electric or?
Yeah, a whole range. So
Okay.
we had like these fake surfboards. Honestly, this is bad. We had these fake surfboards, and then we would tie onto it like a tuna gills. And then we have like a wrangler who has basically a tuna head on a bit of string. You lob it out.
Okay.
And
super scientific. I love this.
Yeah, you lob it out, and then the shark comes in, gives it a sniff, and then you have to try and pull it away before they eat it.
Okay.
And it's just to kind of bring them in to the cages.
Right.
And then with the bottom cage, you just have a box full of chum, and you just stomp on it, and the juices come out, and then the sharks come and cruise by and check you out. And then with the scientific study that was happening, we had these surfboards with the tuna heads tied onto them, and we had chili wax. So, you know, like surf wax, but it had like
spice in it.
Okay. Didn't really do much.
Okay. Sorry if that's your brand and your product.
And then we had the ones which give out like short electrical impulses, different versions of that.
Okay.
And essentially to see how they would react to them.
Wow.
And just collecting data on that, really.
Mm-hmm.
But it was mad because at one point the shark came in and just chomped on the board, and they were like, pull it in, babe, pull it in. And I'm literally having like tug of war with this like 3 meter long great white shark. I was like, this is mad.
I'm assuming you didn't win. Or did you? Or did it either? Hey! Oh my gosh. So you weren't outside of the cage during the great white shark stuff.
No.
But you have shared space.
Yeah.
With, did you say a bull shark?
Bull sharks, yeah.
Aren't they notoriously dangerous?
Yes. And that's because they're one of the few species that move from freshwater to saltwater, saltwater to freshwater, and really inhabit even. They inhabit the intertidal zone more, where it's, you know, people swim more, and it's also a bit murkier. So I think they just come into contact with humans more, and they are quite brutish. But this was in a reserve in Fiji. And again, it's a tourist attraction. I went there to just kind of see how it all kind of worked and just get a feeling of how sustainable shark tourism could be. I guess it's a funny one when people are like luring the sharks in. But I think the positive benefits of how you can change people's perceptions about sharks just by being in the water with them is so much benefit. It has so much benefit. And the repercussions of that tourism attraction to protecting the sharks around and having the local people on board, because it's bringing income into the local area, is really good. But anyway, about the sharks. This one was a dive where you dropped straight down. You had like a kind of wall to sit behind, and there would be shark wranglers with tuna heads again, bring them in, and there were like 20 bull sharks just circling, and their beastie. They're so hefty. Like great white sharks are torpedo, slender, graceful. Yes, fearsome, but really quite graceful. Bull sharks are just chunks.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
real chunks.
Brutes.
Brutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, real pieces of just meat. But they also have their own grace.
Yeah.
And what was really cool there was that they have been studying the effects of tourism on the sharks.
Okay.
And what they said was that the sharks kind of come in as, it's almost like a cafe. They'll take it as an opportunity, you know, they're opportunistic. They'll take the free food, but then they still travel far and wide. They've like tagged them.
Right.
And they've shown that they don't just stay in the area. They do go off and find their own food elsewhere. So, yeah, I guess you take what you will from that. But yeah, it was pretty cool getting to be in the water with them, and they pass so close because you know their intent is on the food that they know is there. It's not on you. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite animal? I mean, dolphins, sharks, you know, going kelp forests, coral reefs. Do you have a favorite environment that you like to dive in? Do you have one which is, you know, you're like, yeah, always that's going to be, you know, top of the list?
I am a temperate gal. I do love kelp forests, just because they're very ethereal, especially the Californian kelp forests. They were just so magical. It was like, because they're not green, it's like this golden color, and because they shoot up from the bottom, and they have these tall fronds like tree trunks, and then the fronds kind of create this canopy overhead, and because of the golden color and the way that the light comes through, it's just like being in like a cathedral. And I really love seals.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't?
I really love seals.
Who doesn't? Come on.
They're so cute. They are just like being in the water with big puppies.
And we're talking seals, not sea lions.
Either or. Pinnipeds.
Pinnipeds. Yeah.
I think seals are just a little bit more chunkier.
Yeah, they're cute. Yeah, they are.
But then, you know, outside of your big megafauna, it's gotta be like octopuses. They are so cool. Yeah. And I think just like any kind of cephalopod, whether it be squid or cuttlefish or octopus, you can spend hours just watching them do their thing. And like, you know, they seem to show that same kind of sentience as like dolphins do. Like when you're with them and they acknowledge you, there is like this kind of eye lock. And you're like, okay.
I have heard this before, and you know the fact that kind of, was it half their brain is on their skin? I can't remember.
Yeah, so they have like a donut shaped brain, but then the majority of the rest of like their neurons are through their arms. But what's cool about their skin, okay, so obviously they change color. They actually don't have any color receptors in their eyes.
So what, an octopus sees in black and white?
Well, they don't see color through their eyes. They might see color through their skin.
Whoa. It's an alien.
It is an alien.
It's an alien.
It's an alien.
And the fact, everyone says this, you know, who's been underwater, say an octopus, there is something about them. And I find that so interesting because normally we connect with animals where either intelligence is, I think, more visible, or they kind of look like us in a way. You know, I look at an orangutan, a chimpanzee, and you can see it. You know, the way they look at me, I can see it in their eyes. And I feel like I haven't been in the water with killer whales, but I've looked at a killer whale go underneath the boat that I'm on, and I've watched that thing turn and look at me as it goes past. But with an octopus, it just feels so bizarre that you can get that same feeling as something that, yeah. Feels incredibly weird.
Yeah, I think it's because it's so different. Like at least with an orca, it's still a mammal in a way, and you know your apes, they resemble our body plan. But with an octopus, it's like you're really quite something else. You've evolved on a completely different lineage. Yet there's something that I recognize in you that I have.
Wow.
But even and that's why they're just so mesmerizing.
I mean, they are incredibly. They're incredible animals to look at. just because of the way they can move, the way they change color. And so they change color and they can't see color. I don't understand how that works.
So I think they have color receptors in their skin.
And so in terms of the camouflage that they can create, if they want the color on one side of their body to look a certain way, so that's reacting to the colors that it's seeing on the other side. Because if it's against a grey rock, the outside of it is not sensing grey. The backside of it is sensing grey.
Yeah. But again, like their whole neural system is spread across their body. So it's all working together. And that's why it's so like instantaneous. Like the way that they can change is just mad.
Incredibly cool animals and an incredibly cool environment. I remember watching Ocean, and they had the top-down shots of the different kelp forests all over the world. I thought that was just incredibly smart. You could see the different colors in the different forests, but that was a moment for me that made the underwater feel more like a topside environment that I was more used to seeing, as well as the topography, the different maps showing that the ocean past the coast is not just a desert. Actually, there's this undulating landscape which directly affects the water everywhere all over the world. I thought that was incredibly smart. And that film, the trawler sequence, is one of the most powerful wildlife sequences I've seen in years. I saw a trailer for it when it came out on Instagram. I think you posted that actually, and it was a jaw drop moment. And then I went to the cinema to watch it, and being surrounded by the music, it's so intense. I've never felt fear from an animal as much as I did when I watched that sequence. How did that story come about? Because I imagine that would have been a tough thing to try and get permission to film. And for people who haven't seen it, it's a scene where, in fact, you describe it actually. You know it far better than I do.
Yeah, I think one of the main things that they wanted to achieve with Ocean was just really shine a lens on the destruction that's currently happening. And it's just mental to think that this method of fishing is currently allowed in marine protected areas in the UK.
It's crazy, and it's so separate from us until I watch something like that.
Exactly, and I think that's what we wanted. That's what the team wanted to achieve with that. Yeah, there's like obviously certain things I can't say.
Okay.
But they ended up working with scientists who wanted to record the destruction of trawlers, and I think the reason why that works so well is because they show you a pristine marine ecosystem, and then you have this sound cue of the trawler coming in, and the soundscape, like you said, is so good.
It's so good. It's so good.
And
it
really does feel like you're on the seabed getting dragged along with
like
this trawler.
I literally felt like I was a fish.
Yeah, it was amazing.
I mean, it's the scene where you're looking in there. So a bottom trawler is effectively you drag a huge net, weight it down to the ocean floor for miles and miles, and just catch anything that's in its path. And the camera angles that you got on that net, can you say how
GoPros.
GoPros. But how did you get the angle? How did you get it? Because you let the net out, so you attach the GoPros on the boat, and then you lower them out, and so kind of the angle was just however it was going to fall.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I think the guys, when they were filming that, as soon as that footage started to get ingested, they were like, this is the most important thing that we've ever filmed before. And I know it was a lot of hard work for them to do that, but it's just such visceral imagery. And I wasn't part of that, the actual dredging trawler shoot, but I went on a shoot to South Africa to film the deep sea trawlers that fish hake off the continental shelf. And you know, I know about the subject. I've researched it. I've read it. I've seen clips before. But there is nothing like seeing it in person, actually. So we were working out from Cape Town, and we would go out in our boat with our Cineflex, motor out for 3 hours until we were like on the continental shelf, and would kind of be in position for these trawlers to pass by. And you know, some days we wouldn't get anything, and then it's also the timing. So the trawlers would have their net down 300 meters for like 3 hours, and they're just scooping up for 3 hours, and then it starts getting reeled in, and we actually had comms with the boats. So be like, okay, you're reeling in, cool, right, everyone get ready. And then once that net hits the surface, it's like 15 minutes, max 15 minutes of that net being on the surface before it's in the belly of the ship, and that was our filming window.
Wow.
But when we had the drone up and you could see the net coming up, you first just saw so many bubbles, and you're like, that's all like the swim bladders of the fish. Because it's coming from 300 meters. Remember what I was saying about?
Yeah.
All that gas. When you're like, so all of the fish that are just getting pulled up, their swim bladders are like
Popping. Wow.
And then the other crazy thing was the amount of seabirds and Cape fur seals that were just aggregating around these fishing trawlers, because there's nothing else out there. There's a reason why these guys are fishing down at 300 meters. It's because there's nothing else around. Wow. So it was like, okay, let's go deeper. And so there were like thousands of albatross and shearwaters, just like even around. And you might not remember the shot, but there's this one shot in it where it's like almost like a puppeteer with the waves, and it reveals the fishing boat in the background and loads of seabirds. Yeah, that was from that. And then hundreds of Cape fur seals as well, just waiting around. And as soon as that net is on the surface, they're all dive bombing around it, trying to get any scrap that is getting thrown out. And then to see the weight of that net and the amount of life that's just trapped in it get dragged along, and you can see like fish eyes like popping out of the holes in the nets, and then as soon as it hits the ramp and it just slumps, it was just so harrowing. I was like, how on earth is this sustainable?
Yeah, it can't be.
It's like MCS tick.
Yeah, it can't be.
What are we doing? And these guys are out there every day, and you can't blame them. It's part of their livelihood.
Well, if it's approved, and they're following protocol, you know, it's a really interesting thing in the industry of making wildlife films, because it's so, I personally feel like it's so hard to kind of live that completely clean lifestyle. You know, if I'm going to go film something, I'm going to fly in a big old jet with a bunch of kit to go and do it, sort of thing. And the guys fishing are doing a job. If it's approved, it's approved. Fishing, if it's approved by the governments, and the government set the policies, I don't look at them as villains, you know.
No, and neither do I. And I think what's so brilliant about the ocean film, in comparison to, let's say, Seaspiracy, which, you know, is a good film, it did its job, but what Ocean does so well is it doesn't say don't eat fish, because what it shows you is communities around the world that really depend on the ocean.
Yeah, the positive spin on that and the other side of that coin was great.
Yes. What it's saying is, if you have the privilege to choose wisely. If you can go to the supermarket and pick whatever you want for that meal, like you could pick any cuisine in the world nowadays. I mean, in our society, where we are lucky enough to be born and raised,
and also some of the greatest consumers.
And if we can choose wisely, avoid fish. And if you do want to still eat fish, eat from a sustainable source, or where you know it's been caught from. And I think, yeah, I think that's where we need to shift as consumers now massively.
Yeah.
Is because there are so many communities around the world whose only option of like sustenance is the ocean, but they're being hijacked by these massive commercial fleets which are taking their fish elsewhere.
I had no idea that those boats were out there and never coming back to land. I had no idea that they had these huge factories. It really did shine a spotlight on something which I thought I had a little bit of knowledge about, but even just by being in this industry as a byproduct, but evidently not. I thought that movie was unbelievable. And the stats say that too, you know? And it shows the power of filming wildlife. If you get to show images to people that do not get to see these things, and then day to day, the change it can have, it definitely had an effect on me. And you're using that principle on a new project.
Nice little segue.
Thank you very much. I was thinking about that, yeah. So Blue Bubble Immersive is a new project that you're doing. And yeah, what exactly is this new project?
So, Blue Bubble Immersive is a charity founded by Lucy Penny, who won the same diving scholarship that I did, but back in 2023. And she came from a nursing background, and her whole passion and ethos during her year was to find ways of connecting like our health, human health, and ocean health. That's like her intersect that she's really interested in. And during her scholarship year, she was exposed to virtual reality. And she was like, hang on a second, this is pretty cool. Like, she spent a couple of placements during her nursing degree caring for people in hospices and really, really young children. Like, she describes it so well of like, you know, walking into a children's bay, pulling back the curtains and the kids just instantly crying. And she just wanted to find a way to provide them this moment of like respite and a place of tranquility, and what her place that she finds respite and just soothes her soul is the ocean. So she was like, how can I be a really good nurse and care for people, really truly care for people? Maybe this project of bringing the ocean to them through virtual reality could be that way, that I can be the best nurse I could possibly be. So yeah, I met her a couple of times, and then we got her on a silverback shoot for Ocean. Actually, she went up to Shetland to help film the Merle and met Doug Anderson, brilliant Doug Anderson. And then he was just like, give me your camera, and when I go out on shoots, I'll start filming these different ocean landscapes for you to start putting together this project. And we were out in Raja Ampat filming the coral reefs there for Ocean, and he was just leaving the camera there, filming it.
Amazing.
And we were just having a discussion about like what I'm up to and how best that I could apply my skills. And he was just like, get on board with Lucy's project. I was like, oh my God, yeah, of course. That aligns so well with everything that drives me to do what I'm doing. Like you were saying, Ocean is one of the reasons why I got into the filmmaking industry, was to create powerful messages and bring what you can't see to people who just live their day-to-day lives. So we were chatting and he was like, why don't you get on board with Lucy's project? And yeah, it aligns with everything that drives me. You know, like, I'm in filmmaking now, yes, but really like my main core is ocean literacy, ocean storytelling, finding ways to educate and inspire people about the ocean, because that's really like where my passion is. And so this was like a really cool venture to just get involved in. It's, you know, there's a fact that 1 in 5 UK children never see the sea. And we live on an island nation. And yeah, that's due to many factors. But if you never get to see it, then you don't know why it should be protected.
Totally.
But then there's also this whole nother aspect of blue mind theory and how good it is to be around blue spaces for your mind.
I've never heard of this.
You've never heard of blue
No,
mind
never
theory?
heard of blue mind theory, no.
So it's kind of fairly new, but there is some research in how like being in the sea or by the sea reduces your cortisol levels. It increases your creativity. It increases all of the happy hormones, if you will.
Get me to the ocean.
Exactly. And so it's like, well, who needs the ocean more than a child in hospital?
Yeah, totally,
you know?
totally.
So yeah, I've kind of come on board as now officially the creative lead of Blue Bubble Immersive. And, you know, Lucy's got the whole medical side of things down. But I'm helping more on the visual experience.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And so where are you at with the project at the moment? You know, you've obviously started and you've already started doing some filming. Where are you at now?
Yeah, so Lucy finished her scholarship this time last year and then has deferred her last year at uni to work on this. And so in the past few months, we've built a pilot experience, which is a 7-minute long ocean experience. We put some nice music to it, and that's it at the moment. And we managed to get some headsets from my brother who works in VR.
I mean, it's coincidence, but
I know, and I am just kind of like, look, the universe has allowed certain things to fall into place to allow me to crack on with this. So I've just got to kind of, take it. So we've got some headsets and we've got the film and we've been working on the paperwork and all that kind of stuff because obviously, you know, working with children,
of course,
there's some red lines. Working with children in hospital, even more red tape. But Lucy's been contacting hospitals around the southwest, and we've got 7 hospitals on board to trial out the experience. And the idea is now to have this pilot period where these different hospitals and different sections of the hospital.
I guess different departments.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Different departments of the hospital can trial out the experience and feed back to us and see how it works for them. And it then becomes more of a collaborative thing, because what we really want it to be is very bespoke for their use. Because you can probably download a load of ocean experiences online, put it in a headset and give it, but there is so much potential here for it not to just be something like a, you know, switch off at the end of the day, go into a VR world, for it to be actually used during medical procedures. Or tailored to those different departments for what they need.
Right.
And so we're starting to, we're going to start the pilot in the hospitals, get their feedback, and then build what this end product could be.
Wow.
So it's a big journey ahead, and it feels like we've come so far already. But I think it's just so testament to her idea is how many people have come on board.
Yeah.
And just given their expertise, given their skills.
Yeah.
And just been like, yeah, this is great. What do you need? How can we help? Let's make this happen. And it's really exciting. Really exciting.
I mean, it just sounds like a fantastic project, and the ocean has given you so much, and throughout your career, you have been, you know, filming it, experiencing it, you know, exposing what's going on in it at the moment with Ocean, which is again a staggering film, and now, you know, using your experience and your life expertise to now bring it into an incredibly useful space. And what a journey to come on from where you started when you were 12 years old. If you could go back, you know, and give your younger self some advice, I always like to ask this question: what would you tell your younger self? I mean, you really have been doing this from a young age, but if you could take a, you know, time machine back, what would you say to your younger self? Would you have a bit of advice? And it doesn't have to be around ocean stuff, it could just be around life in general.
Yeah, no, I think it would be more around life in general. It's an interesting question just because recently I've been doing quite a lot of self-work. We travel a lot for our job, right?
We do.
And it can be very hectic.
Very.
And within the last few months, I've been able to just sit and gather stock and really contemplate and work through some things. And I think if I could go back in time and talk to my younger self, it would be to ignore the self-doubt. It doesn't exist. Like, you have everything that you need and you have a skill set. And there may be other people who have skills that you don't have, but you have something to give. You'll always find your niche within a crowd. And just keep on being yourself and doing what you do.
Well, that, I totally agree. Well, Mae, thank you very much indeed for taking the time to speak with me about all your amazing experiences and your amazing project. I wish you all the best, and I can't wait to see it.